Hello, everyone. My name is Jared Bolin, and I am a technical account manager with Hushmail. Our webinar today will be going over how to switch to a virtual practice in one day. We recognize that these are definitely a very challenging times with the current global health situation, and because of this, providers are needing to adapt really quickly to new ways of caring for their clients. As a result, we're happy to offer some help with starting your virtual office to ensure you have secure, HIPAA compliant, and easy to use ways to keep in contact so you can really keep your practice running, keep being there for your clients, even if you may not be able to see them face to face. So in our webinar today, we'll be covering how to send encrypted, HIPAA compliant emails to your clients to communicate securely, as well as how to use secure forms and electronic signatures to receive your client's information, to use self-assessments to kind of monitor their progress, and also to complete your consent forms for telehealth. We'll also be going over some other telehealth tools you can leverage while maintaining HIPAA compliance as well. So to start off, I'll show you our webmail interface, which you can use to send secure HIPAA compliant email to anyone, regardless of which mail provider they use. So this is a great tool for communicating with your clients, as well as communicating with the other people in your office, because that's a key part of these working remote situations that are often overlooked. It's still really important to make sure that you have good inter-office communication for the other people on your team there to know what's going on. We've actually all just switched over to a virtual office ourselves at Hushmail here within the past week, so we've definitely had the chance to figure some of this out already. So what I'll do now is I'll just dive right into it here just by getting started in our webmail interface. So accessing that is just as simple as going to hushmail.com, clicking our sign in button here. And if you're currently using a web-based email service, this should look pretty familiar, pretty easy to use. The one key difference you'll notice is that when we're composing a new message, we have our option to encrypt the message here. Now, if I'm sending to someone else who uses Hushmail, so whether this is maybe another provider who just happens to be using it, or if I'm using my own domain with Hushmail and there's another user on my domain, then all the mail to that address will be automatically encrypted. So if you're sending something from one Hushmail account to another, that's automatically encrypted. It seamlessly decrypts in the recipient's account. So all of your own inter-office communication or communication with other providers can be automatically encrypted if they're using Hushmail as well. Now, in the event we're sending to someone who doesn't use Hushmail, so let's say we've got a client with a Gmail address. All we have to do is just select the encrypted option here. And now we see that our recipient will read this on a secure web page. What that means is they'll get a notification that you've sent them a secure email. They'll click on a link to read that on our site. The very first time they do so, they'll be prompted to choose a passphrase. Now, this way they can choose a passphrase that they'll remember from their end. You do have the option of adding in an additional security question, though, on the first message you send someone. So this is really useful in the case where maybe you're sending to a shared email inbox, or maybe it's a work email address where someone doesn't have that same expectation of privacy, even though they may be working out of the office. We can add in a question here that they'll have to answer before they choose their passphrase. However, that is a totally optional step, so we can skip that in this case. And we'll just say online appointment confirmation for our subject. So we can add in any attachments here as well, and any attachments you add to an encrypted email are both sent and stored on our servers as encrypted as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll send this off, and we'll see what this looks like for the recipient now. So if I go into my Gmail account, I can see a new message has arrived. And this is essentially what they will see. It'll have your name, your email address, whether it's an @hushmail.com address or if you're using your own domain, or one of our other domains like @therapysecure.com, counselingmail.com. There's a variety you can choose from. But essentially it'll say your name, your email address has sent you a secure email using Hushmail. To read the message, all they have to do is click on this read your secure email button. Now that will take them to our secure message pickup page. Now I'm just doing this in an incognito window here just because I've got another session running and I don't want to boot myself out of that just yet. Now we'll see here that the recipient is prompted to create their passphrase. So they can choose something they remember. They'll use this for any future messages that you send them. And if they do forget it, it's something that can be reset. For security reasons, we want to avoid someone, resetting that passphrase and using that to gain access to all of the previous messages. So when someone does reset their passphrase, it will expire their copies of any prior messages. So you'll just have to send them that most recent one again so they can read it with their new passphrase. However, our customer care team is also happy to help as well if any clients are having issues accessing the site or have any questions about that. So once we choose our passphrase, we're taken right into the message here. We can see our subject, our message body. Any attachments that we included would be visible here as well. One other thing I want to highlight is you'll see we have a notice here that this message will expire by default 14 days after it was sent. Now that just refers to the recipient's copy of the message. Your copy will remain in your sent folder for as long as you keep it there. And all of our healthcare accounts also include a separate email archive. So this account will keep a copy of all mail sent to or from any accounts on your domain. So that way, should you need to hold on to messages for a specific amount of time for compliance reasons, you'll always have a copy you can look back on. As far as the recipient's copy goes, we have an expiry here because we obviously recognize that these can contain some very sensitive information, maybe information that you don't want floating around forever. So they will expire by default after 14 days, but we can customize that expiry to anywhere from 1 day to 10,000 days, which I think is about 27 years. So whatever your own data retention policies are, simply let our customer care team know and we can configure this for you. Now there's a couple distinct advantages to the recipient reading this on our secure site. The first is there's not just a plain text copy of the message sitting in their inbox, because of course we recognize that there can be some personal health information in here that we need to protect. The other advantage is they can reply back to you from here. And because this message never leaves our secure environment, their reply back is automatically encrypted too. We can simply enter in our reply. Again, they can add in any attachments they need and send that off. So we can see we were sent successfully here. So if we go back over to Hushmail, we see our message has arrived. We can open this up now, and we've got our green lock icon indicating that it's encrypted, and then it just seamlessly decrypts in your account. So using webmail or using our iPhone app, the process is very similar. You can really quickly and easily send those encrypted messages and establish that secure conversation going back and forth. So all they have to do is reply back to an encrypted email that you've sent them, and their reply back is automatically encrypted too. Now, we also recognize that some of you may be more accustomed to using desktop mail programs like Outlook, or in this case, Mac Mail or Thunderbird, or even the mobile mail app on your phone. You can absolutely add your Hushmail account into these mail programs. The one key difference is the encryption works a little differently because, of course, we don't have that same encrypted checkbox down here below the subject line. So what we can do is we can either set it up so everything going out from those third-party mail programs is encrypted, or we can use an encryption keyword. So in this case, I've configured my account with an encryption keyword of secure. So anytime this word is found in the subject line of the message, whether it's capitalized in brackets or parentheses, it doesn't matter. It just looks for this string. And anytime this set of characters is in here, that will trigger the encryption, just like checking that box in our webmail interface. So this way we have the flexibility to choose which messages we need to encrypt, because we recognize that maybe not all of the messages you're sending out do contain that PHI. So we'll enter in our recipient's email address here. And again, because we have this keyword in our subject line, our system will automatically encrypt that message. And if we go back to our email inbox here, we can see that it's arrived as an encrypted email, just like before. So our recipient will just be prompted to enter in their existing passphrase, and they can read this on our secure site. As well, in a third-party mail program like MacMail, the encrypted replies do decrypt automatically in here, so you don't need to take any extra steps to read the messages, just like in our webmail interface. It'll all decrypt automatically in there for you. The other tool we have available to help with moving to a virtual practice is our secure forms and electronic signatures. So with our secure forms, you can really quickly and easily build your intake forms, secure contact forms, consent forms, using a drag and drop form builder that your patients or clients can fill out securely online without ever needing to come into the office, and also without the need to print out a PDF, fill that in manually, sign it, scan it, or take a picture and send it back to you. They can do it all from a really easy to use web form. So if we go over to our form builder here, we'll see I've already created a few different forms here in my account, but to create a new one, you can simply go create form, and that'll take you to our template directory. You can either start from scratch with a blank empty form, or you can choose from one of our existing templates like a secure contact form. We have some healthcare specific ones over here as well, like new client questionnaires. We also have a couple of smart forms, the PHQ-9 and the GAD-7. So if you're familiar with these, they are self-assessments used for basically diagnosing or measuring the severity of depression for the PHQ-9 or anxiety. So if these are tools that your practice uses, you can simply use the template that we have. And because these are standardized open source forms, our form system will actually calculate the score for you. So there's no need to manually score this. Our system will calculate that and give the standardized sort of recommendations based on that. So if we go to use this template for the GAD-7, we can see here that we can add in some additional fields. I'll show you what it's like building a form sort of from scratch here in just a moment. But we can add in any additional fields we need up at the top here. Our GAD-7 element here is pretty much locked because these are a standard set of questions. And we want to make sure we're not throwing off the scoring or anything by editing those. So those are sort of those are locked in as that element. We can also add in a photo, our bio, our contact information. And again, I'll show you what that looks like on another form. You'll notice up at the top here, we have our form public web address. So this is the web address where this form will live. So you can send this link to anyone, and they will be able to fill out your form securely online. So for example, if I just fill this in with some sample information, so I'm just going to select some answers here just so we can see what the scoring is like. And then we'll submit that. And now when we go back into our Hushmail account, we'll see that our form has arrived. Again, it's got this green lock icon indicating that it's encrypted. So it'll give us all the answers here nicely formatted. And again, because this is that smart form, it'll actually calculate the score. So it'll give you the score, the severity based on the standardized scale. You can also download this as a PDF really quickly with just one click here, and that will save a nicely formatted PDF that you can add into your EHR or your chart or a file for the patient or client. And the great thing about the GAD-7 and the PHQ-9 is because they're so easy to use, they're really great tools for using on an ongoing basis to really check in with your clients, see how they're doing, even though they may not be able to physically come into your office right now. Now, if we go back to our secure forms, I'll show you an example of, say, a more robust intake form here. So I'll add a new form. We'll go under our new client questionnaire here, and we can just simply use this template. So here we can see we've got our template. By all means, however, even if you're starting with a template, you still have the option to customize this entirely. So if you want to add in additional fields, you can absolutely do so. So let's just say, for example, we want to add in another short text field for work phone number. We can just drag that wherever we want it here. Just resize these and just click on our field to edit it. We can set that as required if we'd like. So it's really quick and easy to add those fields in, to move them around. You can see here we've added in our photo, our bio information, our contact information here. As well, we have an important information box. So if you have any emergency contact information or crisis lines, emergency numbers, you can include those up here. So we have a number of different field types that we can use, including date selects, drop downs, checkbox lists. We can include file attachments, so someone can really quickly say, upload a photo of their insurance card or something like that. We can also add in some advanced controls like a repeater. So here's an example of one that we've got here. But for, say, creating a new repeater, this is useful in the case where someone may need to fill out the same set of fields multiple times, but you don't necessarily want to clutter up the look of your form by having all of these in, and also it saves you time on recreating the same fields multiple times. So let's say, for example, we're doing a list of medications that someone's taking. So we'll add in our heading there. We'll drag in, say, a short text field for the name of the medication, another one for the dosage, and then maybe a date select for when they started taking it. We can also change our prompt here. So instead of just add new row, we can set this to add new medication. We can set it so it displays one row by default, and maybe we'll just say we have a maximum of 15. Once we have that in, we can just simply click on the field names to edit them as necessary. We also have some more advanced options here under form settings. So we can direct someone to a specific thank you page once they fill out our form. We can set the subject of the email we receive here. So we can customize this rather than just having the name of the form by default. We can actually pull in some information from the form. So let's say I wanted to pull information that they submitted to the first name field here. I can just say first name, match the name of this field here exactly, and just put that in the percent signs. So now if I was to fill this out, it would say new client questionnaire, adult dash Jared. So we can customize that actually using information they submit in the form. We can set up an automatic response. So we can let someone know, hey, we received your message, we'll get back to you in X amount of time. We can also set in additional recipients. So if you have multiple different Hushmail email addresses for your practice, and say multiple people need to get the same form, you can add those in here. It does have to be a Hushmail address because the form submissions are encrypted. Because of that, you would need a Hushmail account to be able to read those. Now, what we can also do is we have the option of adding in a signature field. So when we add in a signature field, this will allow someone to sign this securely and then submit that right through their web browser. It meets all of the requirements for an electronic signature. So this way there's no need for them to print it out, physically sign it, and send it back to you. They can do that from their own web browser. So I'll show you an example of a form with a signature field here. Now, before I do that, I wanted to show you as well that in addition to just having our form web address where someone can click on that link and fill out the form, these can actually also be embedded directly into your website. So if we click on Embed Secure Form, that will give us a bit of code here that you or your web developer can just put in to your website, and it will actually load that up securely directly in your page. So here's an example. I'm using a demo site from our partners at Brighter Vision that they've generously provided for us. We have that same new client questionnaire adult form, but embedded directly into the website. So you can see it kind of it takes on the look and feel of the site. You can even customize it to use your site's background color as well if you have a different one. So they can submit this directly from there, and that will arrive in your Hushmail account as an encrypted email. Now, we can see here in our form list that I've also created an informed consent. Now, this is one I'm going to want a signature on. So if you have a specific form you need to have someone sign to consent to telehealth, to those electronic sessions, this is a great way to get that signature securely. So we can simply add in our signature element from the menu here. And once we do so, you'll notice we no longer have our form public web address up here. That's because when we're sending out a form with an electronic signature, we want to make sure that this is a verifiable signature, that it really is the right person who's filling this out and signing it, rather than just having something on your website that maybe anyone else could fill out potentially for someone. So because of that, when we have our signature field in here, we can either compose a new email from our form, we can send a signing request from our form list, or we can just compose a new message from our Hushmail inbox. So we can simply select add form. We'll choose our informed consent. We'll add that in. We'll enter in our recipient again here. So we can see that's automatically encrypted because we do have our electronic signature form in there. We want to make sure they read that on our secure site. We can add in multiple forms as well. So if you wanted to, say, have someone fill out an intake, some intake paperwork at the same time, you can absolutely add those in as well. And if you have multiple recipients on the same form, you can actually choose who completes each form. So that's useful in the case where maybe it's a client who's a minor and you need a consent form signed by a parent, but you want them to fill out the intake form, so you can send that in here. In this case, we'll just do our one recipient though. So we'll say, please fill out the below form. We'll send this off, and then our recipient will be able to complete this securely. So we see our form has arrived. Just like any other encrypted email, we can just open this up by clicking on the link. We'll enter in the passphrase we said earlier, and this will take us right in. So we can see we have our message, we have our form here embedded directly below. So I'll just fill this out for our test person here. So we can see we have our text, I consent to this, so I'm going to click to sign. So I can either type in my signature, I can draw it using my mouse or my touchpad, or I can upload an image. Now, the first time I sign something, I'll just need to check a box essentially stating that, I do want this to represent my signature. And then I can submit that directly through our site. So once I do so, we'll receive an encrypted email in our Hushmail account. And that will have all of our form information. It'll have the client's signature, as well as it'll have an audit log here, so we can see when they opened the form, when they signed it, when they completed it. And again, we can just click on the PDF attachment here to automatically download a PDF with their signature there, as well as a timestamp for when that was completed. Now, what we can also do is we can check on the status of those form requests from our forms folder here. So we can see, which ones are completed. If I had accidentally deleted a copy of one, I can retrieve it from here as well. We can also see maybe which ones are still waiting, maybe which ones we need to follow up on. So it makes it really easy to manage all of that paperwork, because we understand that switching to a virtual practice, there's a lot of consent forms and maybe new intake forms you need to get for new clients without the flexibility of having them actually come into the office. So this way they can do it all from the comfort of their own home. This is also a great solution where even when they can come into the office, they can save some time in the waiting room by filling all of these out online in advance. Now, we recognize also that it's especially challenging to meet with your clients given the current health situation. So we have some tools that we can recommend to make that easier. So the first is a telehealth service called TheraLink. Now this is a HIPAA compliant telehealth platform that allows you to meet with your clients via video, communicate with them securely. They also have a really cool feature, which is like basically a digital waiting room where they can hop onto there. Maybe if they're a couple minutes early and you're wrapping up another session, they can hop on there. So there's no need to maybe wonder if you're going to show up or anything like that. You can really quickly and easily manage that communication through here. Now, one of our partners in the industry, Roy Huggins of Person-Centered Tech, also just released some news here that HHS just announced that they're lightening the restrictions on video conferencing services for telehealth. So what that means is, given the fact that it's way more difficult for someone to come into the office now if they can at all, you can use a service temporarily like FaceTime, Messenger, Google Hangouts, based on these emergency HIPAA rules. So I'll post a link to this blog post here in our follow-up email. But this is a great way if you just need a solution sort of right away. We also have a blog post here with some tips on moving to a virtual office, just what we've learned over the past week. And again, our partner Brighter Vision has another great blog post here on moving your practice online. They include some other telehealth platforms in here that they have partnership discounts with. And these are HIPAA compliant as well. Theranest is another great one as well. So these are ones that will sign a business associate agreement with you. So even beyond the current health situation, once that ends, then you'll still have that HIPAA compliant teletherapy platform that you can use. So I'll send out all of these links here as well. Thank you so much for taking the time. I understand this is probably a very busy time for anyone with a lot of big adjustments to make. So we really appreciate you taking the time to join our webinar today. We hope you find this helpful. We'll be sending this recording out via email as well. And I'll include the links that I've discussed here for how you can leverage some of these teletherapy platforms. If you do have any questions, please feel free to give us a call at 1-877-533-4874, or you can contact us through the contact page on our website, and we'd be happy to answer any other questions. All right, thank you so much again. Have a great day.